brought to you by Bethel School of Technology. Learn more at betheltech.net/Ken Coleman.
So I was on your show, I think it was back in 2016 or 2017, and I had a business. I ended up selling the business, and I ended up moving to Lancaster, Pennsylvania about 3 years ago. But I feel like I have this career struggle of not just finding my sweet spot and just being content to work the same job for 5 or 10 or 15 years. I don't know if I just can't find my sweet spot or if I'm just too hyper. I don't know what it is, and I need help to sort through that.
Well, I think one thing you should probably start pulling out of your analysis is these timelines.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like I would never coach anybody to be thinking in terms of 5, 10, and 15 years as it relates to how long I'm in a role. I think that takes care of itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it could.
I wouldn't, my point is I would never go, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this for 10 years. No, I think that timeline, through a variety of extenuating circumstances, the timeline takes care of itself. Which is why I teach the methodology. If you use what you do best, your talent, to do work you love, your passion, to produce results you care deeply about, mission, that moves with you. And so it's an indicator of, well, I know the kind of work that I need to be doing. And so any opportunity, any pivot, anything like that runs through that filter. That has nothing to do with timeline. And I think that in some way gives me some clues as to what's going on. I think you get bored.
No, really? Yeah, I get bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had an outside sales job for 2 years.
Yeah.
I was growing. I was excelling in that role. I liked the flexibility of the role. I liked having the company truck. But, only working 40 hours a week it just got boring, and the boring of the routine of going and seeing the same customers and you're not always selling to them. Yeah. I just was bored. So a year ago, I switched jobs, went to another role to try to help a guy build a business. And that's kind of been a disappointment because he's like, well, you're not quite the right guy. And, and now I'm disappointed. He's kind of pushed me to the side, pushed me into, well, you manage this department over here and take care of this. Yeah. But honestly, it's like, well, it's not my sweet spot.
No. Yeah. So no, I think in this case, you just went for opportunity. And I don't think you thought through the methodology that I taught you and that we've talked through before. I think you just went, ooh, new. And listen, I'm not saying that in any way to criticize you. I'm just saying I think what happened here is that. Is that true? Now that you look at it, you just went for the new and you didn't go, was it a good fit?
Yeah, I think that was part of it. I think I was just discontent and bored, and so I just moved on to something else. And
we don't move on. We don't just move on for the sake of moving on. We move forward. I think that's the difference. Gotcha. We want to move forward on the path. We want to move up the mountain. And I think the thing for you is the timeline I do want you thinking about is 25, 30 years from now. How old are you?
38. I'm 38 years old.
All right. Yeah. I think you need to look 25 years from now, 20, 25 years from now and go, based on who I am, because you know how you're wired. You know what you're good at, you know what you love to do, and you know what motivates you. Yes or no?
Yeah, I feel like I know what motivates me. Yeah.
You do. You do. I think you need to be looking at what's the mountaintop. What are some mountaintops? Let's not limit it to one, especially for a guy like you. Okay. So for instance, let me try to illustrate this. If I go back in my life 20 years ago, okay, mountaintops that I was identifying: author, speaker, potential politician, television show. Like these were mountains that I allowed my heart to identify that I'd go, that would be fun to scale. Does it make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, but now all of those things I just mentioned, those are all things that I am wired to do. Does not mean that those are the things I'm going to do, but those are options of things that I am wired to do. And then it's the discovery process, of, okay, of all these things, what do I feel is right for me? And you can pivot. And I just think this boredom thing for you is actually a strength. And I think what you've got to start to figure out is I'm always allowing boredom to push me to jump and hop. And you're kind of like a frog, hopping here, hopping there, all this kind of stuff. And to me, it feels a little not so strategic. It's just kind of like, woo, I'll hop over here, and woo, that was fun. And now I'm bored. I'm going to hop to the next thing that excites me. And I think there's a little bit of an adrenaline thing you've got going on. And I think you got to channel that. And I think you've got to channel that into something that's really big. That's going to take you a while to climb. And in doing so, the climb itself is what you start to really get jazzed by because you see progress.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to speak almost in metaphors to see if I'm figuring you out. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, some of that's what's going on. Some of it's of what I've been accused of.
You've been accused of? What have you been accused of?
Well, accused of just being that guy that just hops. Hops from one job to the next because it's exciting.
Right. So we need to get to the bottom of that. What do you think? What do you think is at the real bottom? This is a bit of counseling now. What do you think is at the bottom of this like FOMO, fear of missing out, or this adrenaline chasing? What do you think is there? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm trying to see if we can identify it. What do you think it is?
Well, one thing in processing and thinking through it is like right when I was going to turn from 18 years old, my family moved from the state that I grew up in. I kind of had a career path picked out, which we don't know what we're doing when we're 18, but I thought I did. And we moved and completely moved to a different state, moved to a different culture. And then I was like, well, now what am I going to do? And I had to career-wise and values-wise.
What was the thing you picked out at 18? Because I would not minimize that. Not yet.
Yeah.
What was it?
Well, I wanted to go into, forestry, into logging, excavation, going out and cutting down trees every day. And
what was it about that? What was it about that appealed to you at 18?
It was it was the career path of my dad, but I don't think that was all of it. It was the idea of being out in the forest every day, out and about out in nature. It was a way of life. It was the way I grew up.
But here's the question. Do you love that? Do you feel a sense of flow where just you're happy doing that kind of thing? Even now.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes naturally to me.
I know. Do you know why it comes
into it?
You know why it comes naturally to you?
Because I like to do it. It's a lot of fun.
But you're also good at that stuff too, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I jump on a heavy piece of equipment, and it just all comes naturally.
My friend, we just figured it out. You know what's funny to me? At 18 years of age, you wanted to go into something. You said excavation and digging. I think that's the deal. It's such a great metaphor for what we've been talking about, Seth. Mm-hmm. This whole thing where you're just an epic curiosity guy. And that's that digging. And it engages your brain. So when you're on a machine and you're moving this dirt from here to there and trying to figure out how to pull this tree up or dig it, that actually keeps you engaged.
Yeah, it does, because then you also have a picture in your mind of, when this site is cleared out, or, we're going to have this all ready to put a basement in or foundation in or whatever. And then we're going to come back after the basement's in and we're going to lay the final grade. And you can actually, I can see that picture in my mind.
I know, it's a puzzle.
As I'm moving one scoop
It's a puzzle.
Of dirt,
it's a puzzle, isn't it? It's a puzzle. You know what's exciting about this? Every day, even though you're in work boots and you got some dirt on your fingernails, or you're on a machine one day down with your hands the next, you know what's fun about that for you? It's something new every day. It ain't the same daggum sales pitch. It ain't the same daggum product. It's a new puzzle to solve. Can I tell you something? The research shows that many people return to a vision, a fantasy that they had when they were 9, 10, 11, 12 years of age. You are not too young at the age of 18, certainly then, to know what it is you want to do with your life. And in this case, I would not minimize it because your dad did it. You grow up. In this case, what we have just talked through reveals to me with absolute clarity that that's the kind of work you're wired to do. And you will not be bored a day in your life if you're doing that kind of work. You'll show up.
I don't think so.
I know so.
Yeah.
So, Seth, I think we know what we need to do. We need to, because now we're an adult and no one's going to move you anymore. Now we go back and we had the path picked out and life changed on you and you thought you had to let it go. And I'm telling you, don't let it go. Go grab it. Go grab it and go do it.
Okay. Awesome.
My man, I'm actually a little fired up.
Yeah, I'm fired up about it too, because that's kind of what everything's been lining up to. I actually just had a job offer today, and they're like, okay, we can pay you this much to do this role or this much to do this role for the same company.
What's the role?
And one job is in excavation, jumping in an excavator or bulldozer and going out and pushing dirt. The other job is a truck driving operator job to haul around explosives and blow stuff up every day.
Bro, I would say yes to both. Say, is there any way I can do both?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's
do they pay you what you need? Really do these jobs pay you what you need to make?
Well, see, that's the piece that I'm trying to sort out yet. One is $28, $29 an hour. The truck driver job is like $31 an hour. So how do you make the decision between $3 an hour? You
don't. It's not about $3 an hour. It's about how much juice I have per hour doing this work. Which one of those is more exciting to you?
My heart tells me that the excavation dozer role is more.
Without question. Without question. Your heart and my head are saying the same thing. Done. Done. Go. We're done with this call. We're done with this show. We did our own excavating, and we found the treasure, my friend. Go be you. Launch your tech career today at betheltech.net/Ken Coleman.